Hi and welcome to this video. In this video I will show you how you can implement the free layered architecture into a JavaFX application. The first thing I have done here is that I have created a simple JavaFX project where I have done a little modification. And my modification is that I have removed all the default stuff in the JavaFX setup, and then I have inserted a list view. And as you can see, we have an empty label that is not supposed to be here, so we just delete it. What we want with this video is to populate this list view with a set of information that we get from our data access layer. But as you have learned in the free layered architecture, the user interface is not allowed to communicate directly with the data access layer, so we need some kind of middle layer in between that we call a logic layer. I will show you how you can implement this in JavaFX now. I will start from the bottom, so I will start by implementing the data access layer. So I start by creating a new package, and that package I call that for DAL, and it stands for data access layer, and hit enter. So now I have a new package here. So inside that package I can create a new Java class, and I would just call this for a list data. So now I have an empty class, and inside this empty class I will create an instance field that is a list of string, and this list we call data source. For the sake of simplicity, I have chosen not to communicate with any file or database, so my data source in this example will simply just be an array of strings. So I will just say new array list and just import this java.util.list. So now I have created my let's call it fake data source. I will now create a constructor called list data, as the class is called, and inside this constructor I will populate this data source. So I say data source dot add, and then I would just say hello and data source dot add and world, and we will just need a few more here. So we say add, and this is a test, just to have something to put into the list view later on. So this is the data source. So what I would do now is that I would create a new method that will return a list of string, and I would just call this forget data. So now this get data will simply just return data source. So this is my very simple implementation of a class that lives inside the data access layer, and this class is supposed to know something about the data source. And as we can see here, it knows that the data source is a list of string. It knows all the information that is inside the list, and it knows how what to return when we are asking for the data. This could be the same for databases and files as well, but databases and files will not be covered in this video. So the data access layer, will take care of returning whatever kind of data we want to present in the logic layer. In the presentation layer. Then we need this middle layer that is a logic layer. And to create this, we create another package that we call BLL, that stands for Business Logic Layer, and hit enter. And inside this business logic layer, we create another class, and this class we call list logic. Okay, the first thing we need is to establish the communication, we could say, to the data access layer. And we do that by creating a new instance field. So we say private list data, because we want to communicate with the data access layer, and in this example, the data access layer we want to connect it to is this list data class. So we say private list data, and we just call it data equal to new list data. Okay, so now we want a method that is returning the exact same list as the data access layer created for us earlier. So we will just say public list string, and we'll just call it get data. Because the logic layer is not supposed to know anything about the data source, the logic layer is calling our data access layer, and that is done with this instance field. So now we need to use this instance field to ask to get the data. So we say return data.get data and then semicolon. Okay? So now we have created an implementation where the business logic layer knows something about how to get access to a data source by using the data access component, we could say, in the layer here. So the last thing we would do is to create another package, and this package is supposed to present the GUI, so the user interface that the user will see for our system. So we just call this for GUI. JavaFX has this strange thing that our fxml is supposed to be inside this resource folder here, so we cannot move that part. So inside our GUI, the controller for the fxml file should be in the package. If you don't know what is the controller for your fxml file, you can open the file, press the text in the button, scroll to the right here, and find this fx controller. So the fx controller is com.example.hello controller. So that is the exact same class we have here. So this one we want to move to the GUI package. We do that by right click on the class, select refactor, and then say move class. Then we press dot, and then it suggests that it could either be GUI, DAL, or BLL. And we want it to be inside GUI. So we press GUI here and press refactor. So now inside our GUI we have our hello controller. From the presentation layer, we are allowed to communicate with the logic layer, but we are not allowed to communicate with the data access layer. So to get the data from the data access layer, we need the logic layer to be the layer between the presentation and the data access. So inside my controller, that is empty at the moment, I will create an instance field that connects to the list view in the fxml file. So if I go into the fxml file and open it in Scene Builder, click on the list view and select the code, then we can give it an ID. And this ID I will call LST for list, and then just data source. So this list is supposed to show the data source from the logic layer that is receiving it from the data access layer. So let's go back to the controller, say private, and list view, and just hit Alt Enter, and then we will call it exactly the same. So LST data source. There you go. So now the controller knows that there exists a list view that is called LST data source. What I want now is I want this list to be populated with the data that we receive from the logic layer and that has received it from the data access layer. So I will create a method called public void initialize, and what happens inside the initialize is that when JavaFX sees this method, it knows that it should be the code inside should be executed at the moment that the program starts. So I want this list view to be filled with the data at the moment it starts up. So I call now the LST. We need another instance field. So we need a private and then a list logic. And yeah, we just call it logic, and it is equal to a new object of list logic. And now we have the connection between the presentation layer and the logic layer. So I can now call logic.getData, and we just put it inside a list here. So we say list string list equal to logic.getData. Oops. Yeah, and we just want to import this, so that is okay. So what I do now is that I call the list view lst data source dot get items dot set all. Using this set all, we can set all a whole list to be inside this list view. So it will simply take one parameter, and that will be the list that we have received from the logic layer. So now we can execute the program. And we can see that the list view now contains hello world, this is a test. So this is the way that we connect the presentation layer together with the application layer or logic layer, as it is also called. And inside the logic layer, we have this list data that is a class inside our data access layer, and this class knows everything about the data source that is this list for this example here. In another video, I will show you how you can communicate with a file, so you can see the content of a file and pass it from the data access layer to the logic layer to the GUI layer. Thank you for watching.